Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the end of Flash Player. Flash Player was a software used by developers but also people who were just interested in playing games online. Newsground used this a lot. There's like tons of games and it still is being made to this day. But as of now, Adobe seems to be wanting to discontinue Flash Player. I think they're updating their software, so it's being essentially removed. What does this mean for like websites like Newgrounds and all the others? Honestly, it's kind of up in the air at this point, but since December 2020 was going to be essentially the last month of Flash Player, I decided to go back and play a lot of the classic games I used to play and even reminisce about my time playing these games, because as a kid I loved them, but as an adult I still actually kind of enjoyed them. So specifically we're going to look at mainly 6 game series that I played during my secondary school years and my sixth form days. So this was going to be fun until the inevitable Flash Player gets deactivated next month. It started off as a pretty sad video, didn't it? The first game on the list is Dino Run. As someone who's been really interested in dinosaurs since I was a little kid, when I was looking online for playing dinosaur games as a kid, this is one of the first few I found. And what this game was essentially Sonic meets dinosaurs. You had to get through the level through a time-based event due to the fact a meteorite has struck the Earth and it's caused a massive shockwave that will inevitably kill off the dinosaurs. What makes this a bit different from like your usual like time-based platformer levels is the fact that one, the time limit's kinda out to kill you. And what I mean by that is in literally the shockwave of that meteorite is destroying the Earth. So you have to try and avoid that while jumping over obstacles, dinosaurs, or even using some of the dinosaurs to your advantage. Not only that, while you're also running away from the dinosaurs, you also collect points for either killing smaller creatures or collecting raptor eggs. Why there is so many raptor eggs, I do not know. And you know what, surprisingly, despite its simplistic graphics and even its simpler gameplay, simple arrow keys, jump, duck, left, right, it was actually pretty tough. I think I died a total of 3 times on my recording, and that was mostly due to the fact I got caught because I thought I could make a jump and I just got trapped in a pit. Looking at it though, yeah, I can see why not a lot of people would be that interested in the game, because again it is a more simpler platform and there are a whole bunch of better platformers you could be playing, like some of the Mario games, maybe even some of the Sonic games. I'm not saying this is a bad game, I still love it and I still enjoy playing it for this video, but when it got to like the 10-minute marker it was kind of boring because there wasn't really that many new things in each level. Like, the only difference is they changed the Stegosaurus into a Triceratops and they don't really offer much aside just getting in the way. And that's really about it. There's no dinosaur enemies, there's no like T-Rex that tries to stop you, there's no like enemy pterodactyls or even enemy raptors trying to kill you. Hell, you eat a majority of the raptors in the game. So, looking back on it, it was a fun premise, a fun game, but not really something I'd write home about. But you know, I feel like since it was the first game I pretty much played on Newgrounds, it makes sense why I want to talk about it. Farewell, you little adorable raptor, you. It's a shame that both you and Flash Player will be extinct. So you're thinking with a game that looked as cute and cuddly as Dino Run, what other game was I interested as a kid? I was a pretty messed up kid now that I'm looking back on it. Now I know what you're thinking, is this a South Park game? No, as far as I can tell, the developer of this game just chose the art style of South Park just for the characters. And despite the fact that it's in the South Park art style, it's kind of funny that rather than making the adults look like, well, you know, adults, he made them based on like the children designs in South Park. I don't know why, that that makes me laugh. So this game is essentially a point and click game. Well, kind of. It's a scripted, interactive story as far as I can see it. Most of your choices don't affect anything aside the score, and honestly, the score is just kind of there just to give you some sort of, yay, you did it. It really doesn't contribute to anything. It doesn't contribute to a new game plus, or it doesn't contribute to the sequels to the games. But I will say, what made the first game kind of appealing was that it was really violent for me as a kid. Okay, I know, there's been more violent games that have come out there at the time, but for me, this game felt like a free version of Grand Theft Auto in a way that I could just do bad shit and no one would get angry at me. What's even funnier is that during my school time, the IT department had to actually ban a lot of games because they looked too realistic or violent. But because this game was so cartoony, this did not fall under violence. So that's why many children, including myself in my old school, played this game because of the fact, oh, well, this is probably the only violent one we can play in IT. And I will say, I do like it. It gives you certain options, even if it doesn't really contribute to anything. Most of the time, it's how you would kill people. For instance, there's these two muggers that try and steal you from your car. You could either A, be nice to them, they kick the shit out of you. B, you just run them over. C, you just get out of there. Or D, just blow their heads off. Eventually you get a job to rescue a girl called Michelle, and you have to beat up some guy named Jeff to get that information.
My name is Jeff.
And similar to what you could have done with those muggers, prior you get the information, you could just be nice and just continuously interrogate him and ask him questions, or just beat him up and then just tell him to tell you where to go. So you could literally start the interrogation just punching him. So you'd be like, alright, we're gonna do the typical shtick. And of course, you can choose how to do the mission however you please. You can be, you know, a tad bit non-lethal, but there's been many moments where there's no choice. You have to start guns blazing. Kind of annoying. And then you come to your final boss, the helicopter. Can I just point out, this is a tramp hitman that straight up took down a military-grade helicopter. Ray is a fucking badass. And that's pretty much it. That's the game. Once you sit through the credits and everything, you get your point rating. And you can choose whichever one you gained. With me, I gained a serial killer. What? Most of the people I was killing were assholes. Truth be told though, that is not really the game most people remember when it comes to Ray. Most people remember Ray due to Ray Part 2. Ray Part 2 was kind of, in a way, a Kickstarter. What do I mean by that? Well, it decided to have a more open world aspect, such as having a map to go to your job. So you would go to places, get some jobs, blah blah blah. Unfortunately, when I say this is a Kickstarter, because it really feels like it, because you only go to 3 locations and it's all kind of scripted. Another thing this game tried to do was that it tried to implement mini-games, and one of them was so annoying. Even now as an adult, I hated it. So, okay, you need to get information about this cop to assassinate him. Who else to get than the cop's partner? Now, naturally, you got what I thought when I was a kid was another torture game, similar to the one when you beat up Jeff. But no, you play as the police officer and you must hold out for as long as you can against Ray, or you die. Doesn't really make any sense story-wise. Not only that, regardless of what you do, Ray kills you and chops you up with a chainsaw anyway, and then takes your clothing. If anything, this character probably should have done a noble thing, just allowed himself to die so Ray didn't get the information. That's what I think. Uh-oh. So then the game gives you another choice on how to do the next mission. Do you A, carry some explosives and blow up your target, including the entire cruise ship? Do you take a machine gun and just straight up like gun him to death? Or do you just do classic, you know, knife and fiber wire, a hitman style? Naturally, being the very generous hitman I am, I chose to gun him down. Jesus! That was brutal! Yeah, that's the thing actually about this game that it does have over the first one. It is way more violent. Listen, I know you kill people in the first game, but the violence was rather tame. You know, you shot someone, you stabbed someone, it's just a bit of blood splatter. In this, you straight up see like the bones, you see their skulls, you see like the brains splatter everywhere. It's like, holy crap. Don't even think South Park was that violent at the time. And really, despite the fact the opening of the mission had you choose how to kill your target, the rest of the game doesn't, which is kind of a disappointment. I mean, it gives you your weapon loadout, but I rarely ever used a lot of the weapons in the inventory section, unless it was scripted. Although, I won't lie though, I remember this part being my favourite of the game. So these mercenaries come out, they try and ambush you to get the money, so you must fend them off with your sniper buddy.
What's wrong with this thing?
Well, the only issue with that is he doesn't know how to turn the safety off of his gun. So it's up to Ray to kick some ass. And holy crap man, Ray is such a badass in this game. Like, look at this, he's barely looking out of cover and just shooting a whole bunch of highly trained mercenaries. Like, he's not even looking where he's aiming. I don't think anything can stop Ray. Oh, yeah, this game still has that infamous glitch. If you're not aware of it, it's basically this. If you were to kill a mercenary way too quickly, rather than dying, they just stand in place, and the next one doesn't respawn. What's even dumber is that you still take damage from said mercenary, and then you just die. But yeah, because of the fact you didn't get the drugs and you failed on multiple missions, even though you took out essentially 2 crime organisations in one day, then you ultimately face the fate of Ray. You die.
You should have done your fucking job right.
Yeah, that's the end of Ray's story, essentially. Well, there technically is a part 3, but it's just a really long, drawn-out movie. It's kind of boring. Like, the only decision you make is when you play as Ray's son. Yeah, Ray has a son, apparently. First I'm hearing of it. And, yeah, you essentially just get the option of either beating up your bully but still get beaten up, or just try and walk away, still get beaten up. Honestly, it's kind of a shame that Ray kind of went into obscurity like this. Or maybe not, because while I was finishing my recording of Ray, I did find out the developer, Phil, is actually potentially working on a Ray game. Yeah, on this post here, he does point out that he is back making a new game. What's more, he's linked Ray underneath it as a tag. So maybe Ray Part 3 will get a better thing, or maybe it'll be a Ray Part 4, or maybe it'll just be a Ray reboot. He says it'll be available on Steam, so that'll be cool. And it won't be made in Flash. Interesting if you ask me, I'm very curious what it will be. Of course, I can't talk about Flash without mentioning one of the most iconic characters in the Flash game genre. Henry Stickmin. Ah, the Henry Stickmin games. These games were great. I mean, yeah, they are kind of the same in a way. It's just that the animation and the more choices get more and more. But my goodness, man, Henry Stickmin is just so comedic. Just looking at the original Breaking the Bank, it is so different from the remastered edition. First off, a lot of the films are a lot more different than I remember. For instance, in the remake, Henry digs down and he hits a gas tank in which it explodes when he lights a lighter. In the original, he dug down and got hit by a train. It does kind of make me wonder, why there's a train running through the desert. And the TNT bit, well, Henry's setting it up in the remake and a bomb falls on the detonator and essentially blowing him up. But in the original, the bombs didn't go off, Henry goes to check on them and he explodes. I guess when it was too Looney Toony and he didn't want to rip it off. And of course the Wrecking Ball. My goodness, the Wrecking Ball. And this was one of my disappointing things about the remake, is that they kind of changed the wrecking ball one, where Henry swings the wrecking ball, it clashes into his carrier. Whereas in the remake, he just walks away. Like, he just gets told to go away and then he just goes away. Kind of a letdown if you ask me. But yeah, if I had to sum up the Henry Stickmin games during the Flash era, they kinda are the Rick and Morty of Flash games. What do I mean by that is that not much really changed in terms of like its writing or its main gimmick. It's just the animation got better. Henry Stickmin's always been funny, like mostly due to the fails and even the incompetence of like his just pure idiocy. I mean, he gets away with so much bullcrap by pure luck. I mean, these games were just made for just pure laughs. Like, you just gotta love games that are just there to make you laugh. Sure, they're to be completed as well, but at the same time, you're not playing Henry Stickmin to complete it. I mean, you could easily just speed blitz the game, just look up what the right options are and just speed through the game. But then what you're left with is a sort of funny game, whereas you could have something way better, which is a comedic game. Like, just all the fails are just so funny to watch. Like the freaking distraction dogs from fleeing the complex, to the escaping the prison teleporter where he teleports in front of a firing range.
Fire!
Or when you're trying to escape a prison riot and Henry does a freaking 360 and accidentally shoots his teammate. It's ridiculous. These games are so charming just based on the stupidity of these characters. They get away with so much bullcrap and it's beautiful to watch. Seriously, if I haven't said it enough, support the Henry Stickmin games. Like, they're available on Steam, completely remastered, and even though we won't get any more Henry Stickmin games, I was really glad to play them during my Flash gaming era. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a bit, you saw me play a game called The Deep Sleep, which was a horror game made by Scriptwelder. As a kid, I was too scared to play those games. Like, I was too much of a wuss. But the games I did play were the Don't Escape series. I must confess though, I never really completed the third game. It was a little too scary for me. And even now I still don't have the courage to play more of the Deep Sleep series. So for this video I kinda stuck with the two I knew, the first one and the second one. In fact, I even learned that there was a fourth game last week, and I was thinking about potentially playing that for my channel. Who knows? First game, you play as a man who's a werewolf, and he's recently been found in an abandoned shack. Using the items in the shack, you must, as the game says, don't escape. So it's like the opposite of an escape room in a way, you know. You, rather than trying to find your way out by solving puzzles and looking for items that may not seem that handy, but they do come in handy for the puzzle. And the difference is, the roles are reversed. You must not escape because you're a werewolf. And I must say, playing this game years ago, I actually struggled because the puzzle was not as simple as it laid it out to be. Like, you find meat, you find out about a potion, you see a hook, naturally you'd think, tie yourself up, have some steak hanging around, and drink the potion. But no matter what I did, I always ended up killing at least one villager. Obviously there's a perfect score where you could not hurt anyone and you just escape with the werewolf tamed. But unfortunately for this video I was not smart enough to figure that out. One game I was pretty smart of was Don't Escape 2. Despite the fact it's a sequel, it's kind of not a sequel at the same time. Because see, rather than werewolf, you are being hunted by a horde of zombies. Your friend's injured, and you must look for supplies to essentially build a fortress that will keep the zombies out. What I liked about this one is, you are a human, but the fact is, you are unarmed and you're not equipped to fight the zombies. In a lot of video games, even point and click ones, zombies are just kind of the cannon fodder. They're kind of like the grunts from Halo, the imps from Doom, Goombas from Mario, you know, the list goes on. That's what zombies were always seen as. They are the cannon fodder for the player. Not in this game, no. No, you are completely outmatched. Your friend's injured, you are outnumbered, and you must figure out a way to, essentially, to keep the zombies out. Unlike in the first game where there was only one route to take to get the perfect ending, there's actually multiple ways you can get the quote-unquote perfect ending in this game. For instance, you could find all the locals and get them to join your side. You can go completely rogue and just survive without the people. It's a lot harder, but it's doable. you can even do this thing where you can just lure the people, get them to help you build your defences, and then just straight out kill them and put them in the hole. That is so fucked up. But yeah, there are multiple ways to complete this one. For one, I didn't even know this until this year. You can start up the car, the red car near the police vehicle where you get the pistol and the gasoline, and drive it around. I didn't know that. I always did it on foot. So the fact that there's that much detail in it is great. I love that amount of detail. But at the same time, in doing so, I sacrificed it so I couldn't have the electric fence for my fortress. Hence, the fence was my only line of defense. Though at the same time, with a car, I didn't need a trolley to carry all the heavy objects. So there was like multiple ways I could have completed it. Heck, if I wanted to be just so idiotic, I could just get my gun and kill everyone, and lure more zombies to my fortress, making it even harder to survive. Why I would do that is beyond me. But I got the ending where I helped the locals and I saved them, put my friend out of their misery, and zombies didn't even get into my house. Oh yeah. I don't even have any glasses, I just animated them dropping onto my head. Now this one series is a bit of a weird one. Now obviously during my little youth years I was a big fan of games like Mario, Pac-Man, Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day. Conker's Bad Fur Day is underrated. And of course I can't mention all these mascots without mentioning Sonic. I mean, Sonic was one part of my childhood. I loved the guy, and I still love his games even now, even some of the more meh ones. Heck, I'm probably one of the few people that actually really enjoyed Sonic Boom, TV show wise and also the game. And of course, when I went into Newgrounds, I looked up a lot of Sonic stuff. And a lot of those were very M-rated. But one of those games that I remember playing a lot fondly was Sonic X Final Fantasy. I'm not making that up. Someone straight up made an RPG where Sonic crossed over Final Fantasy. Kind of. I mean, the only thing that's really Final Fantasy is some of the enemies, and I believe the main weapon Sonic actually uses is Cloud Sword. And I guess the RPG elements? I mean, quote unquote RPG elements. Let me explain. Now, despite what you're seeing on screen, these are all scripted. Yep, and defining all these characters, and despite the fact you have a menu, it's all scripted. I mean, there are fights that you're bound to lose, but there's also ones you're bound to win, and then there's ones that just ends in a draw. Yeah, and they kind of cover it up by having these level up screens, but you really don't gain anything from these levels. Okay, I sound like I'm being negative with the game. Listen, as a kid I loved these games. Obviously it featured Sonic, although it also featured Mega Man for some reason. And I don't know what Mega Man has to do with Final Fantasy. Oh yeah, and also Link was also in the game. I guess these universes just exist together. Yeah, this was clearly a really odd fan-fit game, and I'm gonna be honest, the story is terrible. In fact, the writing is terrible. Example being this scene here. Who the hell are you? That's ass and his let of a gay on. It's Bass, you moron. How dare you? It's Eon Blue, bitch. Yeah, the writing is not the game's strong suit. In fact, when I was replaying the first parts of the game, in fact, when I was recording the first 3 parts of the game, by the way, this is in parts, it's 6 parts in total, and honestly, you know what, as weird as to say, it's one of those games that gets better as each part comes on. I mean, yeah, the first one is scripted fights, second one's also scripted fights. In fact, one of them, you don't even really fight that many enemies, you fight one boss and that's about it. And while the writing certainly didn't improve, nor did the story or characters, the gameplay, well, I say gameplay, it's more the animations really were fun to watch. I mean, check out this bit where Sonic and Shadow and Zero destroy Mecha Sonic. Like, holy crap, that was cool! I mean, yeah, the overdrive moments in these games are the most fun to watch. They are the most anime. Like, if you're a Dragon Ball fan like me and a Sonic fan, this is what you want. This is what you want out of like a crossover between these two franchises. And yeah, while the gameplay is kind of not in existence, it's more just an interactive movie. Sometimes they implement that you can fail, but that's only if you choose not to fight, like if you chose to skip or try and just do a basic attack. However, number 6, holy crap, I don't even have that many memories of playing number 6 as a kid. But my goodness, this freaking part was awesome. It's short, it's only one boss fight and one quick time event, but when you compare it to the first part of the game, it's amazing. The animated fights, the fact that these are all sprite animated, this is made in the same software that you would find all those really badly animated sprites on the internet in like 2006. Not like the quality ones like Super Mario Bros. Z, you know, the really, really cringy type of animations. Scorpion vs. Ghost Rider, animated by me, types of cringy. That's how bad it was. My goodness, these animations are so cool to watch. Like, when it came to like old school Final Fantasy games, it was mostly animated slashes or punches. But in this one, it was like full on, it's Dragon Ball met Final Fantasy. It was really cool to watch. Heck, I even hate to say it, this boss fight nearly killed me. None of the other fights in the previous games never got this close to me, because many of them had exploits or they were scripted. But the fact that I had to actually choose my moves carefully and defeating Eon was pretty damn cool. And the overdrives and the Giga Drive, I think it was called, that was epic! Like, oh my god, it was so cool to watch. Like, I don't remember this part of the game. In fact, this game also had voice actors. Yes, the developer actually got voice actors for this part. That's pretty commendable. And you know what? This kind of game kind of proves the point of this really dumb tweet, which says games require both story and gameplay to be a good game. No, listen, it's weird to say, this Sonic fanfic had some really fun gameplay. I mean, yeah, it's mostly through the animation, but you know what? Despite its really terrible storytelling, it was actually a fun game. I had fun. I mean, yeah, it took until part 6 to really feel on real gameplay. But you know what? I am actually glad I played it, because it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, this is also where the series kind of ended. And it's a shame, because when it did end, there was so many promises of what number 7 would have. More enemy encounters, more better boss fights, even cutscenes. Yeah, there was going to be full-on hand-drawn cutscenes. If I can find them, I'll put them on this video. But yeah, there was going to be full-on hand-drawn cutscenes, as well as sprite animated fights. Kind of a shame, really, that the developer just disappeared. I don't know if he's still... I've tried to look up the developer, and I've not found anything about him. I think he's just abandoned the series. I mean, it's been like, what, 10 years now? It's unfortunate, but you know what? Hey, you know, I had fun playing these games for the video. So developer, if you do find this video, I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you in the near future. Heck, I'll even gladly play Sonic Final Fantasy VII if you release it. I'll play it for the channel. So yeah, from all the Flash games we've seen though, what is a good one to end on? Sonic Final Fantasy was kind of cool, but I'm not really sure if that's a good final game to play for the end of Flash player. Henry Stickmin was comedic, but at the same time I don't think that was a really fitting finale, so what should we save for last? As I stand here. Yes, the Last Stand series. Now I remember playing this game non-stop, just non-stop of playing this really cool zombie slayer game. The first game you play as this survivor who seems to be in a shack where he is essentially cornered. He's low on food and he has low ammunition. He needs to look for survivors and weaponry to fend off the zombies. And if I really have to sum up the gameplay, it's kind of like one of those classic like tower defense games in a way. Only there's not really much to really put down as defense. I mean, sure, you unlock better guns the more you explore for weaponry, and survivors will help you out a little bit. Actually, no, I say that. Survivors did jack shit on my video. Yeah, a lot of these survivors were pretty dang useless, but the guns were pretty cool. And you definitely needed to get more guns, because the pistol is completely useless near the last portion of the game. In fact, I'm not even sure if there's a video where someone's completed the game with just a pistol alone. If there is, someone link me, I want to check that out. As far as like the gameplay is, you know what, as much as my nostalgia is strong with this game, I can't exactly say it's one of my favourites anymore. Okay, look, I understand, the Last Stand series is a pretty much pinnacle of what people played during the Newground eras and Armour Games website. And don't get me wrong, it's a fun game, but it does get really repetitive near the last portion of the game. In fact, when I unlocked the Springfield rifle and the sawn-off shotgun, zombies were a piece of cake. I mean, the sniper rifle pierced for enemies, the shotgun was quick reload and like loads of space where you could blast the zombies. And even though they introduced like armoured zombies where you had to hit them in a specific spot before you would kill them, honestly, there was no challenge because of those two weaponry I've got. In fact, when you eventually unlock the submachine gun, the assault rifles are useless. Like, I had to put an entire magazine into one zombie just to kill him. Whereas the sniper rifle was just one bullet, one bullet, one bullet. Zombies got too close, shotgun, BAM! It's like I was Danny DeVito holding a sniper rifle and a shotgun just going BAM, BAM, BAM! And to the point, I was kind of not even fun. Even I actually switched up my weaponry just to make it a little bit challenging. The problem is, because zombies get stronger each game, those weaponry became really useless. The AK-47 is just so weak. The AK-47 is like a really powerful machine gun, and yet it can't tear through rotten creatures. Yet an old school sniper rifle that's not been used since World War II is somehow more effective? Okay, it sounds like I'm being very negative again. It was fun, it was just near the end and it started getting repetitive, trying to find more weapons, more survivors, repairing my barricade. I think it's why I died a lot so much that I just got bored. So, I'm very curious if the second one could actually change my mind about it. And oh my god, does it! Holy crap. So much nostalgia when I was playing the second game, it was so fun. Now first off, I didn't even bother complimenting this. First off, the graphics. Wow. The fact these were made in 8 months. Like, damn. And you know what, I was actually kind of worried the second game was going to be a repeat a little bit of the first game, but it was not. First off, the searching is much better. Whereas in the first game you just had to press a bunch of numbers until RNG just got on your side if you got survivors or not. In this game you had to actually explore areas of interest, and it might be completely randomly generated or it might be scripted where you find the weapons and survivors. First off, survivors were actually useful. Yes, useful survivors. Sure, you get less than what you get in the first game, but one, you can equip weaponry that you don't use anymore to the survivor. In fact, what's kind of weird is that the AK-47 and the M4 rifle are still kind of useless when you wield it. Yet when survivors wield it, they're like freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, the moment a zombie enters a line of sight of a survivor, and, well, I need to be more specific, when it literally enters the line of sight of the survivor, they just continue shooting at them until they're dead. Or until they need to reload. Whereas in the first game, they just shoot 1 or 2 bullets every few seconds, but they didn't really specifically aim for the zombie that's right in front of them. But no, in this game, they will continue firing upon a zombie until it's dead or they need to reload. So to the point I was thinking to myself, wow, this is cool. So yeah, when I actually gave these survivors all this really cool weaponry that I didn't really need anymore, I was thinking we were going to be unstoppable. But no, it turns out your survivors can also die because the zombies are way more aggressive in this game. Like, straight off the bat, you have running zombies, dog zombies immediately. Like, you don't get time to build up. Your defenses are weaker, so you must really be careful. So it makes you really plan out, should I really waste time looking for potentially ammunition? Or should I try and build my barricade to survive this night just so I'll be able to get those weaponry and survivors on that day? But this is why you need to think carefully, because unlike in the first game, you're on a time limit. Yes, you have 40 days to get to this one area of the game before time runs out, otherwise you're overwhelmed with zombies. There's a huge horde coming your way, and you need to run from it. Not only that, you must choose which direction you should go. On one hand, if you go to a really highly populated area, you get more supplies, but in doing so at the same time, there are more zombies there. And of course, each night, the zombie hordes will get more enormous, they'll get more deadly, and depending on the populous area, you might have to deal with more armoured zombies because military were obviously sent there. Whereas if you went to like a farming area, you wouldn't meet too much resistance there, but at the same time there's not that many places to loot. So it's kind of funny to think about how this game had more strategy than the first game. I had to really think about what I wanted to do. In fact, I was really scared staying out for looking for items for too long in case a survivor went missing. Yeah, that RNG element's a bit of a bitch, but you know, it actually made you think, what should I do? It kind of reminds me of the strategy for the classic XCOM games. Do you take a risk and reward a type of idea? Or do you try and play it a bit more safe but at the same time not beneficial to you? And heck, even when I was getting to the final portion of the game, I died a lot here. Even when I had all my survivors equipped with weaponry, I had to really choose where to set my traps and what weapons survivors got. So there was a lot of elements I really needed to think about, and I really enjoyed it, despite the fact I died a lot near the end of the game. And as much as I wanted to keep on playing it, I did have to wrap up my recordings. It was coming up to nearly half an hour of footage. And that is where I consider to be my favourite moments playing Flash games as a kid. Looking back on it, I'm actually kinda happy I got to play these games before the Flash player went away. And in a way, and as weird as it is to say, I think this could be a good lesson. Okay, look, I understand, we all love these games. We played them as kids during our school days, we played them during, like, our weekends. But sometimes you need to realise some things are inevitable. Sometimes you gotta just value the things that you play now, because eventually that might go away. Who knows, in a few years, PlayStation might not be a thing. I mean, it's very unlikely, but it's not impossible. You got to enjoy the things while they're around, and I feel like with Flash Player coming to an end, I feel like I'm actually appreciating these games more than I did before. I love the Henry Stickmin games, they made me laugh. I am happy that it got remastered and the developer went on to make one of the most successful multiplayer games of the year. I'm really proud that the developer of Ray is going ahead to try and make another Ray game. If it is a Ray game, or it could be something completely unrelated. And Scriptwelder went ahead, and despite the fact that he's not going to be able to play his games on Flash Player anymore, he's going to be able to play those on Steam. Yes, you can play the Deep Sleep series, and as well as the Don't Escape series, including his new one, Steam, right now. And it's really cheap, I got it for like less than $5. So all I'm saying is, I know a lot of us are going to be mad that Flash Player is going to be gone. But I feel like, you know what, this maybe could be something that you can learn to develop of handling loss. Appreciate the fun times you had playing these games, because those memories will always be with you. It's one of the reasons I started doing Let's Play videos, because I want to record my time playing those games, because I want to share my moments. So yeah, that is where we'll leave off this video. Flash Player, I'm sad you're gone, but you know what? The memories that I have of you will be there forever. And I hope you all enjoyed seeing me talk about these games, going back through memory lane of enjoying these games. Let me know in the comments below, what were some of your favourite games on the Flash Player software? I would like to know. And, you know, maybe someday I'll be able to play those games if they get put on Steam or the Epic Games Store. Until then guys, I'll see you in the next video. Share the video around and get the channel growing. Farewell everybody.